Long before Jesus walked the roads of Galilee, long before the Bible was written, a rebellion erupted, not on earth, but on a higher plane of reality. The Urantia Book describes this as a cosmic conflict led by a brilliant and powerful being named Lucifer. It wasn't fought with swords or fire. It was fought with ideas, dangerous ones. Lucifer didn't just challenge authority. He challenged the entire government of the universe. And Earth, or Urantia, became one of the worlds caught in the crossfire. Before he was a rebel, Lucifer was a high son of the local universe administration. A Lanonandek son, brilliant, charismatic, trusted. He was one of the most respected administrators in the system of Satania, which contained thousands of inhabited worlds. In Urantia's language, Lucifer wasn't a fallen angel in the traditional sense. He was more like a high-ranking governor, an intelligent being with great authority and influence over entire planetary systems. He served faithfully for ages, and then something changed. Lucifer began to doubt, not the universe itself, but the authority of the Universal Father and the paradise system of governance. His rebellion wasn't born from brute hatred. It began with a seductive idea. Lucifer didn't start a war with armies. He started it with a manifesto, a document of protest and defiance. He declared that the Universal Father was a myth, an unnecessary idea meant to control intelligent beings, that the local universe son, Michael, the future Jesus, had no right to loyalty, that all created beings should govern themselves without divine oversight, and that liberty should replace what he called slavery to paradise. It was a seductive message, a dangerous promise of freedom without responsibility. To many celestial beings, it sounded like enlightenment. To others, like poison. Lucifer wasn't alone. He had powerful allies. One of them was Satan, not a separate figure as in popular Christian belief, but his first lieutenant, the one who became the chief propagandist of the rebellion. Another was Caligastia, the planetary prince of Urantia itself, Earth's original celestial governor. When Caligastia aligned with Lucifer's manifesto, Earth became one of the rebellion worlds, a planet that would soon experience spiritual isolation and darkness. A third figure, Dalagastia, Caligastia's associate, also joined the rebellion, helping spread its ideology to early humanity. This is why Earth became what Urantia calls a quarantined world, a world disconnected from normal cosmic circuits, a world in which divine communication would be harder to receive for thousands of years. Unlike the battles humans imagine with flames and wings, the Lucifer Rebellion was not fought with weapons. It was a war of ideas. Lucifer launched an organized campaign to convince other celestial beings of his manifesto. His message promised freedom without divine oversight, self-rule without accountability, and power without submission to higher will. Satan, his right hand, became the loudspeaker of this new ideology. Together, they spread their rhetoric across the system of Satania, carefully targeting worlds and their celestial governments. This was not chaos. It was calculated. And it worked, at least in part. Roughly 1/3 of the system administrators aligned with Lucifer. Many beings were deceived, not because they hated the divine order, but because the lie was wrapped in the language of liberty. One of the most common questions is, if this rebellion was so dangerous, why wasn't it instantly stopped? The Urantia Book explains something profound. True freedom includes the freedom to rebel. The Universal Father and Michael, Jesus, did not crush Lucifer right away because 1. Free will had to be honored. Even celestial beings must be allowed to choose. 2. Suppressing rebellion by force would only make it seem that Lucifer had a point. 3. The full consequences of rebellion had to unfold openly, so the entire universe could witness and learn. In short, this wasn't about punishing Lucifer quickly. It was about allowing the universe to see why his vision would fail on its own. When Caligastia, the planetary prince of Urantia, joined the rebellion, Earth became a rebel world. This had massive consequences. Earth was cut off from the spiritual circuits connecting loyal worlds. Communication with the system was limited, as a spiritual quarantine was established. And humanity lost the steady guidance it would have received from loyal celestial administration. This is why Earth's spiritual evolution has been unusually conflicted, confused, and violent compared to most inhabited worlds. It was never meant to unfold this chaotically. The rebellion created a vacuum of spiritual leadership, allowing false ideologies, primitive religions, and political control to shape much of early human civilization. At this stage, Michael, Jesus, as the creator son of our local universe, could have intervened directly, but he chose to wait. Why? Because he hadn't yet completed his bestowal mission, his incarnate life on Earth. He respected the process of moral demonstration, allowing Lucifer's claims to fail publicly. And he wanted to resolve the rebellion once and for all, not through force, but through truth and revelation. So the rebellion was allowed to continue, contain, but not ended. And Earth lived under the shadow of that rebellion for millennia. For ages, Lucifer and his followers held on to their illusion of freedom. But slowly, the cracks began to show. The worlds that sided with Lucifer descended into chaos and spiritual confusion. What had been promised as liberation turned into instability, distrust, and cultural stagnation. On loyal worlds, civilization advanced steadily. On rebellion worlds like Urantia, progress was slower and marked by turmoil. Lucifer's promise of autonomy began to look less like light and more like a void. His so-called new order had no anchor, no higher truth to sustain it. The rebellion, over time, collapsed from within. The decisive moment came when Michael, the very son Lucifer had denied, chose Urantia as the world for his mortal bestowal. When Jesus lived and died on earth, he did more than change human history. He completed the seventh and final bestowal of a creator son. And when he did, he inherited full sovereignty over the local universe of Nebadon. This changed everything. Lucifer was no longer just a rebel. He was now a defeated subject under the rule of the very one he opposed. From that moment, the rebellion lost any legal or spiritual standing. It became a doomed cause with no future. Lucifer was not immediately annihilated. Instead, he was deposed, captured, and held pending final adjudication by the Ancients of Days, the ultimate tribunal at the universal level. Why not destroy him instantly? Because the trial serves as a universal purpose, to show all creation the difference between divine order and rebellion. His defeat was not only physical or legal, it was philosophical. His claims were proven hollow by reality itself. Satan, his lieutenant, and Caligastia, the treacherous planetary prince of Earth, also lost their positions of authority. Though Caligastia continued to influence humanity in subtle ways, his power was broken the moment Michael's mission was completed. The Lucifer Rebellion left deep scars on Urantia. Spiritual progress was delayed by thousands of years. Primitive religions and fear-based systems grew in the vacuum left by celestial isolation, and humanity had to navigate its spiritual evolution with very little cosmic guidance compared to loyal worlds. But with Michael's sovereignty came hope. Earth remained quarantined for a time, but the rebellion had effectively been neutralized. The influence of Lucifer became a shadow of what it once was, noise without power, lingering only in the fractured myths and misunderstandings of human culture. Today, what many traditions call Satan or the devil is a distorted echo of that original cosmic rebellion. The Urantia Book doesn't describe a horned creature ruling hell. It describes a failed administrative and philosophical uprising, one that ended when Jesus claimed his rightful sovereignty. Humanity still lives with the cultural and spiritual aftershocks of that rebellion, in divisions, fear-based religions, and myths of eternal darkness. But the rebellion itself, it is over. The universe has moved on. And as the circuits slowly reopen, Urantia is once again being prepared to rejoin the cosmic family it was cut off from long ago. Lucifer's kingdom was built on pride and fell to truth. Jesus' kingdom was built on spirit, and it endures. The rebellion began with an idea of false freedom and ended with the triumph of real freedom, the kind that flows from living in truth. The war of ideas is over. The story of Lucifer is not a tale of equal powers battling in the shadows. It's the story of a bright light dimming itself out, while a greater light shines forever.